Hi, welcome to our brief overview of ThinkCERCA. At the end of this, you will understand what ThinkCERCA is and how it can help your students. You will also know how to effectively implement it in your classroom. What is ThinkCERCA? It is an online program that helps us teach critical thinking through argumentative writing. So students read high-level text and then pull evidence out, make claims, and then discuss it in class. How does it work? So it starts by breaking down critical reading and academic writing into 5 key components: claim, evidence, reasoning, counterargument, and audience. That's where the CERCA comes from. Who uses ThinkCERCA? Everyone uses ThinkCERCA. It is cross-curricular, so it can be used in the ELA classroom, science, social studies, math, special areas. It's differentiated, so it can be used in special ed classrooms and with English language learners. And it helps students develop their close reading skills, and it encourages writing across contents. So the idea is they read, write, and grow. So they read the authentic, high-quality texts that are differentiated based on their reading level. And then they start developing a claim, and they use evidence. They can use a highlighter on the online version, and it helps develop their argument. It's scaffolded to help the students. It gives them writing prompts. A third-party research firm claims that we can see 1.5 to 2.5 years of growth in a year. How do we get that much growth? You would have to do 10 applied reading and writing lessons per student per school year. Here is a calendar that suggests how you would do that. It allows for vacations and holidays right here, but we would maybe want to do 2 in March because of February break. But the nice thing about that is that it's cross-curricular. So the English teacher doesn't have to do all 10 CERCAs. The social studies teacher doesn't do all 10. So you would meet, to go back to this little schedule, you would meet as a team level, like as a grade level team, and determine who's going to do what. So we have a Syracuse City School District ThinkCERCA 1-page document that I will show you in a minute. And in there's the standards alignment from science, social studies, and there's the novel pairings as well. So Nick and Dana and Rhonda actually looked at everything and went through it and linked the CERCAs to what the district curriculum is, which is really wonderful. So I will show that to you in a minute. But what the idea here is that the English teacher might say, I'm going to do 1 in September, 1 in January, and 1 in May. And the social studies teacher might say, I'll do 1 in October, 1 in December, and 1 in March, and so on and so forth, so that the students aren't always doing CERCAs, and that it's cross-curricular. So here's their recommended scope and sequence. They suggest that your first lesson be school policy because it covers summary. And then the second one would be government's role in healthcare, which covers claims and summary. Video games is evidence, summary, and claims. Social media is reasoning, summary, claims, and evidence, and so on. So these are just some ideas of where you could start. I can show you where you can find these when we get into the program. So how do we start? If you clicked on this, it would bring you to ThinkCERCA.com Syracuse. It's our Syracuse site that ThinkCERCA made for us that includes the scope and sequence and the curriculum alignments. So here are some ideas. Before you launch with students, plan ThinkCERCA with your team. Then you would add your classes. So the kids log on through Clever, we log on through Clever, but they have to be added to classes so that they could be in multiple people's classes. So if I'm the social studies teacher, I create Mrs. Gridley, period 1. When I create that, it gives me a class code. So my students in period 1 would enter that class code, and then they're enrolled in my course. I will show you how to do that as well, but it's very easy. And then you just add assignments. You would want to go through all of this with your students' whole group so they understand. Maybe consider creating anchor charts and going through routines and procedures with your students. Will they be filling out a data folder every time they're on ThinkCERCA? How many times will they be on the computer? Will you be doing it offline with them because you don't have your devices yet? I would go through all of this before you launch it with them. You can consider assigning a benchmark assessment. It's optional, but it does tell you where your students are in terms of reading levels. If you already know that, then don't worry about the benchmark. With students, we recommend that you start by showing them this video, go through all the routines and procedures, and then complete the benchmark if you would like to. Here are the reports. So when you go in and you look at your students' reports, it's going to tell you how many students. Mine shows the whole grade, but yours will show you how many students you have in that class. And then it will show you who has consistently mastered, who's proficient, who's not yet proficient, and who hasn't started yet. This right here. So student 1, student 2. This is what it'll look like for you. So we are going to go out, and this PowerPoint is set up so people can use it to do face-to-face PDs. But I'm going to show you our one-pager. So here is our ThinkCERCA one-pager. It can be found on the SCSD PL Hub, but it covers everything. It covers time commitment, implementation ideas, tracking ideas, reading reports. Come on. Here is the ThinkCERCA one-pager. It goes through how you log on, how students log on, how teachers log on, how to create classes, how much time to commit, how you can better understand how to use ThinkCERCA, implementation, expectations, tracking. It covers all of this. It also gives you some ideas and videos to use with your students. And then it goes over what else you need to know. Over here are some other resources. So here is the upgrade code if you need that for your building. There's some training materials. Here are the alignments that I was talking about. And here's some offline materials. So if you have not yet received laptops for your classroom, you can do ThinkCERCA offline. It's not as easy, and the kids can't obviously highlight the text and just drag it over to build their writing assignments, but the process can still be used offline. And there's some printable items here. It's just a Google folder that you can open. Now, getting into actual ThinkCERCA, I'm going to go out to my Clever, and I'm going to find my ThinkCERCA. Okay, so I log into Clever. You would log into Clever. You click on ThinkCERCA. Now here is your account. So we would go up here and go to Classes. To create a class, you click on Classes, and then you can manage your roster or manage your classes or add a new class. So to add a new class, I would give it a class name. So like I said earlier, maybe Gridley period 1. And then I would say the subjects, let's say social studies, grade, section first. I can add co-teachers right here. I can still add a co-teacher right there. So I clicked it too quickly, sorry. But I can add a co-teacher, so I can add somebody that pushes into my classroom, my teaching assistant, a coach, anybody like that. The students would then enter this class code to self-enroll into my class. They would do this for each class they're in. So if I'm a 6th grader, I obviously have an English class and a social studies class and a science class. And all of my teachers will have a different code and a different class in ThinkCERCA. So that is how that's done. Now, going to lessons, you can just search lessons, you can search sets, you can search favorites. You can filter them by grade level, subject area, standards, theme. So let's just say we want to do policy and debate, and we want it for 6th grade. So here are some suggestions. Are sports really for everybody? That's kind of interesting. I think that would be interesting to my students. So here is what the overarching question is. What is the relationship between our culture and sports? Now, if I view the set, it will show me these different things that I can assign to my students. So up here, this is teaching counter argument. So this was in that scope and sequence. It was one of the later recommendations. So I should be teaching summary first. But just for this example, we're going to do this, and I'm going to assign 3 to 5 to my class at the right. So this one. So I'm going to do the entire class because I don't have any students in this class yet. Once my students put in the code, all of their names would appear here. And then I could assign it to individual students. So I may want to assign the counter argument, the direct instruction, to half of my students for the 3-5 and half of my students for the upper level. And they won't know the difference. Down here, this is where I can assign different articles based on their reading level. So I know my students. I know there's a handful of them that are reading at 5th grade, a handful reading at 6th grade, a couple reading at 4th grade. I can assign it to each of them. And then I give it a due date, and then I hit submit. And it's that simple, and it walks them through. They read the text, they can highlight. There's multiple choice questions. There's sentence starters. It's scaffolded to help them. And a lot of this can be done at your targeted instruction station. A lot of it can be done independently on their own. So it just depends on how you want to set up your classroom. But this is what the overarching question is. And then we would have a classroom discussion about the answer to this. And they would each have a different claim based on personal experience and the way that their brains work and what materials they read. So that is basically it. The Insight dashboard up here, this is where you would get your reports, so you can see what students are doing, are consistently mastering, proficient, not yet proficient, etc. The benchmark is where you would assign the benchmarks if you wanted to. You can do beginning, middle, or end of the year, and then it's the same as assigning lessons. Give it a due date, pick your class, give it a due date, and hit assign. I hope this helps. If you have any further questions or you need more support, you could reach out to your school librarian, your coach in your building, or the personalized learning team. Thanks so much.